Hey, gorgeous ones, it is Emma Jane here, and today I would really like to talk about why it is that in the work that I do, the focus is not on food and the emotional eating on its own as such. When it comes to your disconnection with your body, when it comes to eating disorders and emotional eating, it is not about the food. The food is merely a symptom. It's like going to the doctor for a headache and getting some tablets to cure your headache and not realizing that it's, a brain tumor that's actually causing it. So often when it comes to body image and emotional eating and eating disorders, everything's done to treat the symptom of the food. It's done to treat the symptom of the weight loss. It's never really focused on what is actually going on underneath. It treats the symptom and not the point of origin, not the actual cause, not what's really truthfully going on. Now, obviously, we need to treat things within the 3D physical world. If you are going to heal your relationship with your body and your food, there are certain things that have to take place here in the physical world. If there are foods that trigger you, then obviously not having them in the house and having access to them is a really big one. If there are certain situations that trigger you, then not putting yourself in that situation where you have to experience it is going to help you. But again, that isn't going to get to the core of what's going on. So what is going on? First of all, when you are using food to cope or to punish, this is just a way of you numbing your fear and your pain, which I know you already know. Okay. I know that you are smart enough to know that it is far easier to just eat and stuff down your emotions than it is to deal with them. I know it's easier to eat or have some other form of avoidance, such as food, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever other risk-taking behavior you can think of. That means you don't have to address what's going on. I get that, and I know that you get that. But this is the primary issue, if you like, that has to be addressed, is to what are you numbing? What fear, what pain are you trying to avoid? Now, for me, I spent years trying to figure all of this out. And the thing that stopped me the most was I was still in that mindset of having to fix everything in the 3D. I wasn't looking to fix things on an energetic or a spiritual level, like most people back in the day, all right? The spiritual aspects, the emotional aspects, the energetic aspects of our healing really weren't discussed. We didn't focus on that. Everything was focused on the 3D, on the physical, on, you need to stop doing this. You need to find another method. You need to do this. You need to do that. Which often wasn't helpful because, it's a little bit like conventional medicine versus holistic medicine. You're just treating the symptom, the thing that's showing up. You're not actually looking for the cause. Now, the cure, if you want, and I know you've heard this before, and I know it gets a little bit repetitive, and I know it's a little bit cliched, and it can be really annoying to hear it again from yet another person. You have to go inside yourself. That was the biggest lesson when it came to healing my body image and my own eating disorder and emotional eating, was that there is no cure outside of me. There is no, magic pill. There is no magic anything that was going to come along and bang, there we go. I'm all fixed. I'm all cured. Everything's perfect. Now I can just get on with it. It takes time and you have to do the work and you have to do the healing, and it's a process. It's a process that's absolutely worth it though. Let me just assure you of that. It is hard and it's difficult and it's emotional and it's draining, and you will wonder if it's all worth it, but it absolutely is. To be free of the need to eat when things go wrong, to be free of that self-loathing and deep self-hatred when you look in the mirror, that to be free of that belief that you're just not worthy of whatever it is that you want. There are no words to explain how that feels, and that only comes when you've done the work. But you have to actually go within, and you have to do the work from within. And like I said, it's not easy, but it's absolutely worth doing. Now, for me, the Akasha really helped for that. I know that the Akashic records are not for everyone. I know that not everyone believes in past lives. I get that. Really, I do. I totally understand that for some it's like, I don't have a past life. There is no such thing as reincarnation. I'm not going back to see that. I get it. You don't have to. Right? I'm not that bossy. But for me, the thing that had a really big impact was being able to see that not everything was a direct cause of what's happening in this life. Yes, absolutely. There are certain points in my past where I can pinpoint and go, okay, that, and that, that's what triggered this life. That's what in this life made me think that I was worthless, that made me think that I was undeserving, that made me think that no one could ever possibly love me, that made me think that it wasn't right for me to be female, that I couldn't, have a feminine body, that I couldn't do this, that I had to be one of the boys, that I had to be this, that I had to be that. Absolutely, all of that has happened in this life that in itself needed to be worked on and worked through and released. But working with the Akasha also allowed me to be able to go in and not just see in past lives where I may have experienced similar things, where that origin of why I felt so unworthy in certain situations with certain people, where that originated, or where the fear of being seen came from. It also allowed me to then go in and just look at like the deep fears and beliefs in this life. Why are they present in this life? Where, not just where they're coming from the past, but where are they coming from now? Why am I believing that? Is it more than just the story that got told? Like, where is that all coming from? And that has been probably one of the biggest things that really did help with my own healing and my own journey, was to be able to see all that. Because one of the things that I love most about the Akasha is it allows you to get out of your head in that regard. It can help you find some answers. Now, again, this is not about searching for answers outside of yourself where you can then go, oh, okay, well, see, I had this past life in which these people were really jealous of me and they harmed me because I was pretty and because I loved myself and because I knew I was worthy, and so I've just closed off, and well, that's just the reason, and so now I don't have to work on it because I know that it's not my fault and I don't have to take responsibility, right? Because that is what I find a lot of the time we do. As powerful and as helpful, I guess, for want of a better word, that the Akasha is, you still have to do the work and take responsibility. It's all well and good to sit there and go, oh, okay, in these past lives, this is what happens and this is what has contributed to me feeling like it's not safe to be a woman, it's not safe to look this way, it's not safe to do that. You can't then just go, okay, that's not my fault, I'm just going to leave it, there's nothing I can do. You still have to do the work in this physical life and take responsibility for it. And when I say that, what I mean is that when it comes to not accepting our worth in this life, we have to take responsibility for that. Okay, we've been fed stories that contribute to us not feeling like we're worthy, that makes us feel that we're not enough, that makes us feel that we're unlovable, that, the only thing we can control is our food, that, it's not safe to explore our emotions and how we're feeling, so we're going to take this other form of action or do this other thing because it means that we don't have to address it and we can just numb out. You have to take responsibility for that. And I know that's really sucky, and I wish that I could have a magical wand and just go, hey, yay, there's the answer and you don't have to. I can't do that. I wish I could. I can't do that. That's just not how it works, unfortunately. We have to do the work. We have to go, okay, I've been carrying this particular story about who I am, and this particular story has affected how I've lived my life, and it's affected the decisions I've made, and it's affected how I've seen myself, and that's on me. Right, that's what we have to do. Now, as difficult as that is, it is one of the biggest steps that you're going to have when it comes to your healing. Now, Caroline Myss speaks about, when she talks about woundology, the power of the story, regards to us not healing. That not healing gives us a certain level of power because we have this story that we can then thrust on other people, right? So, oh, I would, but, or you don't understand what I've been through because I have this thing, right? And that's all well and fine. But again, it comes back to that level of responsibility that if we want to heal what's going on, then we have to take responsibility for the fact that we've carried this story, that we've made it our own, that we are ignoring our worth, and that we're not willing to address the pain or the emotion or the fear. Now, when we meet our worth, one of the things that empowers us to do is to actually release these stories. When you are able to open up and see that the story's a load of crap, that's not really how it is, that you've been living by this false belief for so long, then you get to see that you really are worthy. One of the really powerful things for me was being able to see, finally, after years and years and years, because I'm a little bit of a slow learner sometimes. I mean that in a good way. All right. I think a lot of the times we all are a little bit slow in our learning in that regard because we are so invested in wanting to please other people, in wanting to make sure other people are happy, in wanting to be the good girl, to do things right, to live up to expectation, that we try so hard to do what everybody else wants, that we then don't realize that we're actually perpetuating the situation, that we're just furthering the cycle. And it took me a while to realize that there were certain things that I was expecting of other people that were never going to happen because it's just not possible for them to do that. Now, when it finally clicked that, oh, well, that's not the problem. Maybe the problem's me. I'm just expecting this to happen. Maybe I'm the one that needs to fix that and take control of that and take responsibility for that and let that go and not have it as such a focus anymore. That was a huge shift in my healing of my body image and my emotional eating. But also, in doing that, I got to see that those stories that were so much a part of my life were also the stories that were based in fear from the people who told me. Now, the stories that I got told around my worth and about how, there was something wrong with me because I was female, that there was something wrong with my body because I'm female, that there was something wrong with me in terms of whether or not people could, love me, whether or not people wanted anything to do with me. When I was able to really see the stories, to really accept my worth, what I was able to see is that was born out of the fear specifically that family members had, that those stories were told to me in a way of keeping me there, of controlling me, of taking away my power so that I wouldn't want to go off and do my own thing. It meant that they got to keep me to themselves. It kept me controlled, it kept me contained. I wasn't likely to go off and live my own life or do anything like that. They had the power. And in understanding my worth and meeting it again and understanding how that had affected me, it meant that I got to take back that power. Now, when we take back our power, what we then learn, and when we take back our worth, we also learn that we don't need to eat. And that is why I say I'm not focused on what it is you're eating. I'm not focused on the food when it comes to your healing in this regard. I know a lot of people are. I know there's a lot of people out there, and it's not a criticism, but there's still people out there helping people with emotional eating and body image that are still going to be focused on the act of eating itself. Now, when you heal the stories, when you heal the relationship with your body, when you start to step back into your own worth and power, your food, your eating is actually going to heal itself. When you have the skills or the tools to address the fears and the beliefs and the stories and the pain when it comes up, when you no longer feel that you need to numb what you're feeling, then you don't need to turn to the binging. You don't need to turn to food. You don't need to turn to alcohol. You don't need to turn to drugs. So the food then takes care of itself, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Because it then doesn't become about the food. The food, as I said, is just a symptom. When you are triggered, when you don't want to have to face something, you turn to the food or whatever other numbing action that you take to avoid it. But when you're no longer avoiding the pain, when you're no longer avoiding the emotion, when you're no longer avoiding the fear, there's no need to numb anything, right? So the food takes care of itself. The food takes care of, it heals itself. Really, you won't need all the high fat, high sugar foods. You won't need, the crunchy, savory, salty chips because you are feeling angry and you need to crunch something. You won't need the ice cream. You won't need to use the food to raise your serotonin levels because there's no need for that instant hit of feel-good chemical to deal with whatever it is. And the benefit then, of course, is if you're not binging, if you're not engaged in the cycle of emotional eating, you also then don't have that reversal with the feeling of shame and guilt that you've yet again done this and that you've yet again done that, which then of course can become a trigger and lead you back into the circle of then needing to overeat because you feel so shameful and you feel so guilty, and then you do the eating and you feel good for a little bit, and then the serotonin drops and you feel guilty again, and so you eat again, because it's a lovely vicious cycle that we get stuck in. So with all of that, and I know it's a lot, as I said, it's not about what you're eating. It's not even about how much you're eating. It's about the why of the eating. Why are you turning to food or whatever other numbing agent that you use in order to deal with what's going on? When you can explore and understand why you're taking that action, why you're engaged in that behavior, when you can understand the fear or the belief or the pain or the emotion that you just don't want to face, when you understand that there's a truth there that's really, really scaring you that you just don't want to have to address, that's when it starts to heal. That's when you can really sit back and go, okay, I don't want to have to face this, because what if this is the situation? I've been telling myself this, but what if it's really this? I don't want to face this. And it comes back to that responsibility and that doing the work, but having to do the work within you. You're the only one who knows why it is that you are turning to food or some other numbing agent in order to avoid having to face what's going on. You're the only one who knows what pain, what fear, what emotion you don't want to address. You're the only one who knows what truth is sitting below the surface that's scaring the absolute crap out of you, that you would rather just eat or drink or numb in whatever way so that you don't have to face it, because it is so goddamn terrifying. You're the only one who can answer those questions. But when you do, when you actually take that responsibility, when you look it in the face, when you actually start to address it, that's when the food stops being a symptom. That's when you stop being as triggered. Now, that's not to say that there won't be times when you'll be instantly cured and you'll never, ever, ever be triggered again and never, ever want to binge. There's going to be times, okay? I've done so much work. There are still moments when, of course, I would love to just sit and binge and not have to address something. I have tools now that I don't have to do that. But are there times when that's the first thought that pops into my head? Like, where's the food? What can I eat? Absolutely. It's still a healing process. It's still a journey. There is no instant cure. It's not all done and it's fine and there we go. No, you still have to work through it. And there's still going to be times, you can't tell me, let's say with an alcoholic, there are alcoholics and drug addicts that are still going to have those moments where that would be the easy solution. And that's what food is. That's why it's the symptom. That's why it's not about what you're eating, because it's just the solution that you choose at that time to deal with it. But when you start to look below the surface, whether you use the Akasha, whether you use journaling, whether you use hypnosis, whether you use tapping, whatever tool you use to get to the truth of the situation, whatever you use to get to the cause, the origin of your why you are eating, why you don't want to address this fear, why you don't want to address this pain, why you don't want to face this truth. However you get to that, that's what's going to be the healing. Addressing those questions, that's what leads to the healing. That's when you start to sort out in your own head that you don't need the food, that you don't need to binge, that you don't need to numb. That's when you start to actually take better care of yourself, because you don't need to rely on that. You won't need to have that food in the house because you don't need it for those times when everything's really sucky, because you have other tools, because you know how to address it. That's why I don't focus on the food when I'm working with you, because it's just the symptom. Now, the food itself can be helpful. The type of food you choose to have when you're binging can say a lot. It also relates to the different chakras, which is a whole different video. But the food itself, what you go for, whether you go for salty and crunchy or soft and smooth and creamy, that says a lot too, and can really help in terms of dictating, or not really dictating, in terms of really understanding the emotion behind the eating, right? And as I said, that's a whole different video. But the food itself, other than what type of food you're choosing and how that impacts on what you're feeling, the food's kind of irrelevant. I want to get to your why. That's what I want to help you with. I don't want to sit there and go, oh, okay, so when you're feeling this, you reach for chips. So you're obviously angry. How about you choose some healthy carrots? Now, there is nothing wrong with that approach. I'm not criticizing anyone who uses that approach. However, substituting one crunchy thing for another crunchy thing because it relates to anger isn't solving the underlying issue and emotion of the anger. You're just substituting something. The real healing isn't about substituting one thing for another. The real healing is, as I said, about getting to the why. That's what I want to work with you with. That's what I want to help you to uncover. Your eating will take care of itself when you know the why. The why of what you're eating, the why of why you're turning to it, the why of what you're avoiding, the why of what you don't want to face. That is when it all figures itself out. Because if the cause is treated, If we're treating the origin of the pain or the emotion, the cause of it, then we don't need to address the symptom, do we? Because it's just a symptom. And if the cause isn't there anymore, there is no symptom. Right? It's kind of like with an infection. Yes, you can just treat the infection, but if you treat what's causing the infection, then that's going to lead to greater healing in the body. Yes, you can just do the infection bit and not go deeper and figure out what the hell's going on, but it's not going to be as effective. It's the same with the food. You can just treat the food, you can just substitute things out so that you have a healthier option. But binging on a healthier option when you're feeling angry and you can't articulate that anger, it's still binging, it's still emotional eating. That hasn't cured anything. Getting to why you're feeling angry and frustrated and feel like you can't speak your truth and say what you're really feeling, that's healing. That's the difference. So I know this has been a little bit full on. This is why I do the work I do. This is not for the lighthearted. This is not an instant cure. This is not, oh, well, I'll just substitute this or I'll just find these answers. If you want to heal your relationship with yourself, with your body, if you want to meet your worth, if you really want to heal all that underlying fear and emotion, it takes time and it takes work. And it's work you have to do, and it's work that you have to take responsibility for, and that's really sucky, I know, but it's what we have to do. So thank you so much for watching. This is what I do. This is why I don't just focus on your food. I focus on what's really going on, because the why is what you really need to work on in order for your healing. So thank you so much for watching. Pop a comment down below, let me know what you thought, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.